All right. Calling this meeting into order.
La chancla.
La chancla. So make sure actually you guys are on your best behavior. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning to our panel, Arroz Con Cosplay. I did have a thing to display, but unfortunately you'll have to use your imagination and look at all these wonderful cosplayers and know that their work is absolutely amazing. Plus, you can also follow them on social media, and actually after the presentation, feel free to come by and follow them, follow all of them. That's what you should do. That's one of the requirements before you leave here. But yeah, this panel we put together for us to sort of as an exploration of our experiences as Latino, Hispanic, Latinx cosplayers coming up. Actually, just sort of our, our influences, our backgrounds. Some of us actually we have very different backgrounds but similar experiences. So just to start off with, actually, let's actually get everybody to introduce yourselves. Just a really quick. Let's keep it simple. Your introduction, how many years possibly you've been doing it, and what is your favorite postre? No, you do it. We're starting on that end.
Can I have the translation for postre?
Oh, yes. Dessert. What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, okay, I thought so. Well, my name is Joseph, and I've been cosplaying for about, I'd say 6 or 7 years. My favorite postre is, I forget what they're called, but you can get them at, what's this? El Superior. They're the little gingerbread, pig-shaped things. Oh, those are so delicious.
My name is Joe. I've been cosplaying for about a decade now, which is weird to say. And my favorite dessert, which I'm not really big on, I love conchas. They're my favorite, probably, yeah.
Conchas, okay. All right.
I'm Deidre, and this is actually my cosplay quince. I've been doing this since 2008.
Oh, we're celebrating with quinceañera!
So now I feel really old. Postre favoritas son conchas.
Conchas.
O champurrado.
Champurrado. Oh, that's a good choice.
Tis the season for champurrado.
Indeed.
Hi, I'm Kate Monroe. I think I've been cosplaying since 2013, I want to say, give or take. 10 years. I don't know. About 10 years.
It's fine. It's fine to say 10 years.
8, 12, I don't know. It's been a while. And I don't think I have a favorite dessert because I'm not big on sweets anymore. So.
Well, when you did like desserts, what was the go-to dessert? When that was a thing?
Cupcakes or my mom's peach cobbler. So.
Okay, all right, cool. I would say for me it's flan. That's my jam. Flan is I can never. I mean, sometimes some folks don't make it the right way, but that's fine. I would probably still eat it.
Have you ever had flan mixed with chocolate cake on the bottom?
I have not.
That is so delicious. It is a game changer.
It's a thing.
Can I change my answer, actually? my favorite postre is the flan de chocolate. It's so delicious. And there's like chocolate chips on top of it. Yes, chocolate flan.
So your little pig thingies, they're called maranitos. They're
Maranitos.
gingerbread pigs.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See, there we go. But now you change your answer. Too late. So one of the reasons actually I had put this panel together was because I feel like actually we as a cosplay sort of group or subgroup are really not represented. Like I feel like there are a lot of we sort of get mixed in depending upon actually where we are, what region of the country we are, and sometimes actually people don't necessarily say, hey, this cosplayer is specifically Latino or Hispanic or identifies, and so it's really important for me to for you guys to be able to share your stories, share your experiences, you know, and what brought you into cosplay? Like, what was where was your inspiration? And it could be a variety of places. So what would you say is your inspiration for cosplay, and what got you into it?
Geez. Well, I think I liked comics since I was a kid. My dad, he's from Mexico City, so he's very, I won't say very, he's pretty chauvinistic, and I know we all know how that is. So he got comics for my brother, but not for me, because those are a boy thing. Those are boys, not girls. You can't have the trading cards, you can't have the comics. And he did eventually crack and did get me some, and I just kind of phased out of it because, like, in elementary-ish, a boy told me the same thing. He was like, that's not, you know, these are boys, this is stuff for boys, why do you have that? So I kind of just phased it out, just kept my little inner nerd, I don't know, quiet, I guess, for a while. And then my nephew came along, and he was about 4 or 5, and he wanted to do the cosplay contest at Stanley's Comic-Con, or Kamikaze. So that kind of what got me pushed into it, and he did not want store-bought stuff. He wanted everything made. I'm like, I don't know how to make anything. And I guess I figured it out, and so, yeah, he's the one that pushed me into it, I guess, without pushing me into it. So, yeah.
I guess we're just gonna.
Yeah, we'll just go down the line. Go down the line.
Okay, so I've also liked comics since I was a little kid. Grew up on the '95 X-Men show, so yeah, I wanted to be Storm when I was growing up. I still do. And it wasn't until after college that I had the time and resources to go to conventions. And this was an era, this was circa 2008. 3D printers did not exist on the mass market. You had to work in the industry, and they were large and bulky. So props had to be cast and molded. You couldn't print them. If you wanted to make costumes or anything on a foam, like the foam industry wasn't as prolific as it is now, so you had to make a lot of this by hand, and you kind of apprenticed with people and learned via YouTube. So my first attempts were clunky at best, bless my heart, I was trying, but I just really loved being able to put on a character and be around people who had those shared interests. And I finally felt like, oh, I found my people. I found people who love the craft, they love the art, they love the characters, and it's a great way to meet new friends and to kind of express yourself and put your own personality into those characters. Even if you're wearing somebody who's got a very distinct look, you still have your own little tweaks and, you know, quirks about it. So this is a great way for me to kind of escape the world for a little bit. It's a bit crazy right now.
Agreed. What got you guys into cosplay?
So I used to work in a comic store as a teenager because I was that much of a nerd. And right out of high school, I wanted to start getting into cosplay, and that's when I met my partner, and we both decided that we wanted to jump into the hobby together. So we both bought respective sewing machines and learned how to sew. So that's really what got us into the craft.
I feel like that's a big question. No, I have always loved dressing up. I mean, what little kid doesn't? And Halloween was always my favorite holiday. And when I learned that, oh, people do this all around the year, not just on Halloween. First time I remember I got really inspired and excited is when I went to the West Hollywood Halloween Festival that they just brought back. It's really fun, you guys should check it out. And just seeing everybody dressed in these amazing, I didn't even know there was a word for it at the time, cosplays, and they looked so beautiful and amazing, and they were having so much fun, and that really inspired me to want to do the same. The following year, I bought a sewing machine, and I told my partner I want to sew. He's the one who actually bought me the sewing machine. He's over there.
Oh.
But yeah, it has been a long journey ever since. I am just inspired every day. I read lots of comments, and that is a huge source of inspiration to the cosplays that I make. The things I like to sew. It's a lot, and it makes me so happy to see representation in comic books, and I love seeing that jump off the page. And
Yeah, look at me.
And it's just I don't know if I'll ever stop. It's just cosplay and sewing is really amazing. It's a really great artistic expression for me.
That's great. And in these experiences that you guys have had, I love hearing these kind of stories because I feel like it adds to the sense of normality that just because of our backgrounds, there's not a specific sort of like, hey, you got into this because of X, Y, Z. I think it's a shared experience that we all have. Some of us have challenges like that, like acceptance, which actually brings me a great segue for the next question I had was, what was the acceptance, or how did you feel the acceptance was from your family and from your, other Latino, Hispanic, community? Because I feel like there's a weird sort of stigmatism about it, that this is and my apologies to anybody here who is not Hispanic Latino, but it's like, it's a white thing, it's a white geek culture and stuff like that. And so, what was your experience with that? Did you have any, was there a sort of like, what are you doing, or was it accepting? Like, what was that for you?
I think for me, I've always been on like the more creative, craftier side of it, so I think that my family was more accepting of like those endeavors earlier on for in terms of like how I do my craft. Like I don't really cosplay like bigger characters. Like I really love characters that you can't like buy their costumes online. So like that's why I bought a sewing machine, because we had to make all of our stuff because we couldn't just get it easily accessible. I think that's where like a lot of the questions come up, is like, oh, why aren't you like Spider-Man, and why aren't you like the more modernly acceptable characters or what have you? But it never really came with like that amount of like criticism. So I think I got very lucky in that regard, that I was creative in other ways before getting into the craft to like ease them in.
In regards to family, honestly, it's very similar to what you said. Since I mostly sew everything that I wear, they kind of focus more on that. So they're kind of like proud and happy that I do something that requires that kind of skill. Although, coming from a Latino family, and my mother is she cares a lot what people think. She has the most concern when I tend to wear cosplays that are a lot more on the revealing side. So she'll give me those comments like, oh, and you go out like that? That doesn't bother you? You're not uncomfortable? And she'll give me the eye angel. You let him go out like that? So that I do have to experience, and from a few other family members as well. Growing up gay kind of gave me that ammunition to already kind of push back and say, I don't really care, I'm going to do what I want. So in a Latino family, you really have to develop that, because my personal experience is you just can't do what they want you to do. If you want to be happy, you really have to do what you want.
To seek out your happiness and seek out your genuine self is always the most important thing. Did you guys have any specific sort of experience with that? With like having to expose your family and stuff to your geekdom?
Oh yeah. So as you can tell, I'm very white passing. My dad was a ginger. He had like hazel eyes, red hair. He was see-through skin, freckles. My mom is Mexican and Filipino, so she's not white at all, but she's one of the fairer of her 8 sisters, and so I came out very fair. And even with that, she moved to the deep south before I was born. And where I grew up in Alabama, there were no Latinos when I was growing up. There were no Hispanic people. Nobody spoke Spanish. Every once in a while, you would see a worker in, a blue-collar type of job or the service industry. But I didn't grow up seeing anybody that looked like my family until I was in college. And So a lot of our life was assimilating into the white culture, and I felt very disconnected from whatever you want to say, los lugares, and putting on costumes like they were saying, it makes me feel like I'm being myself, even if I'm a character. I get to express myself, and my parents were supportive because I was doing a craft, and they admired, oh, you made this thing from scratch? Wow, this is a hat. You made it from scratch. It didn't exist before. They were very supportive for that, but they didn't understand the characters that I would pick because they were also very deep cut, type of non-commercialized characters. So if I picked something like the little Captain America USO girls, my mom would be like, oh, you look so pretty, but your skirt's really short. I can see your legs. Like, what is going on? But if it was like a full body suit, they didn't get that either because you're covered in spandex. And so over time, I just had to let them in on the process. If I was painting a prop or aging something, hey mom, look at what I did. She would be very proud. So I'm very grateful that they were supportive in that respect. I've always been the weirdo of my family, so I think they kind of expected I would go this way. And it wasn't until the last 10 years that I've been able to feel more connected to people in general. And now that I live out here, and I'm the deep south, thank God, it's been a really great way for me to not only connect with my people, but I'm also like connecting with the culture and feeling like, hey, this is something that I didn't get to experience as a kid, and now meeting people in the cosplay community, it's inspirational. They teach me. I learn from everyone that I meet. I learned how to body paint from this one. She does the best body paints. I learned how to do group cosplays. This person is the most organized, team assembling.
What are you talking about?
I put the panel together. So yeah, he coordinates a lot, and I learn from everyone. So yeah, it doesn't matter if my family was or wasn't supportive because I get it from the community.
Well, see, I don't really have experience with not being accepted because even though my dad was there when I was growing up, I kind of cut ties with him after high school. So he hasn't seen anything I've done. And I've never had any connection with my dad's family. So I don't know how they would receive me anyway. I think they would receive me a little different. I think the cosplay thing would be so minimal. They're like, oh wait, hold on, you're a little dark, so I don't know. But my mom and my family, they're kind of it's kind of weird, but whatever, it's not that I'm not accepted. I've always been doing arts and crafts as a kid, so I think my mom is just oh, that's always been cool. She'll buy me, I did calligraphy as a kid. I made little, I don't know, I did yarn things, just stupid little crafts that people why are you doing that? Are you a 50-year-old woman? But painting, I tried to do pottery as a kid. I just made clay. I just tried everything. So art class was my favorite class. So I think jumping into cosplay isn't too far of a stretch with my family. There's well, yeah, it's Jennifer.
That's a natural progression. That was expected.
And then even though I kind of hid my nerdy side, people still knew I did certain characters, and I did comics, and so it's not a huge jump. I think I get a little more backlash from some of my friends. Because they're just oh, you're one of those weirdos. I'm yeah, I'm one of those weirdos. Yeah, and it's because I was the same way. I would drive by or walk by. I'm dude, why are these people dressed an anime convention? I'm what? Okay, weirdos. Walking around dressed like a furry. I'm what is wrong with you guys? And
join us.
And now I'm here, because I thought you had to be a super, 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 super nerd to go to like a Star Trek convention or to go to
That was
Star
my
Wars
first convention.
You know,
Star
like,
Trek.
I'm just like, oh God, I'm not a Trekkie, so I'm just like, God, you guys are just, I thought I was a nerd, like, you guys are just super nerds, and here I am, super nerd, and
One of us.
my family accepts
One
it.
of us.
My family accepts it. They just still, they think it's cool, even though they're like, we don't get it, but it's cool. They think it's cool, like my nephew's into it. They're like, oh, you guys are going to one of those conventions again, that's awesome. Like, what are you guys doing? They want to see pictures. They see like all the work I put into it. So I feel like I get a lot of support, but at the same time, because it does take a lot to build and create, and I think my mom sees me stressing myself out, and I do procrastinate a lot. So I put this together like in 3 days. So like I will wait till the after the last minute, and even when I try to plan, it goes like to the last minute. So I planned this months ago, and it's like just getting all the materials and doing this and doing that, and then.
Katie, 1 second. For everybody here who's a cosplayer, please raise your hand if you procrastinate with your cosplays. Thank you very much. Okay, cool, great. So everybody here, that's part of cosplay.
So like Con Crunch, I really, really take that to heart, and I think like my family sees that. They're like, why do you do yourself like this? So they don't understand it, but they support it. So yeah, like
You're not done until you're sewing yourself into
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Like,
Literally was sewing myself right out the.
That's right. That's the way it works.
I'm all right.
And then at certain points, you bring it with you to your hotel because you're still not finished.
That's right.
I was bringing a sewing machine to the cons when I would buy them. I would bring my sewing machine and be sewing in the room. That was a winner.
You know what? I've actually really, and this is just completely off topic, but I do want to go ahead and actually just sort of throw this idea out here. I've honestly wanted to invest in buying a big, like, a truck trailer kind of thing, hollowing it out, and making it into a mobile craft thing to bring to conventions. Just haul it into a convention.
Okay, well, to piggyback off that, I've been talking to my friends about this. I do want to open up a cosplay shop. Like, specifically for last minute.
What's
Yes.
You do it at a con. You buy 2 3D printers in it. You have the sewing machines and stuff like that, and it's a trailer that's converted into just a room where you come in and actually you can do all that stuff.
And mobile was part of it, because I was like, those are people like me that are gonna need it. And Amazon just doesn't cut it, because they will wait till the last minute. So
That's possibly an investment that I may need to make.
It sounds revolutionary.
I'm running around the country in my big old rig.
I'll be one of your first investors, like ground floor.
All right, fair.
Legacy.
I'll do that. I mean, this is being recorded live. I'm sure somebody will go ahead and be like, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to.
or just take our idea. But it is what it is.
But I'm sorry. Coming back into so with the question of acceptance, actually, I just really quickly share my own personal story was actually that my dad being very Latino and Hispanic, it was very much, hey, you have to play baseball and sports ball and all this other stuff. And I've always been very artistic, very drawing, and that's always been my thing. And so, when I got into cosplay, it was just sort of like, okay. I mean, cool. Great. Like, they never really said anything about it really specifically, but they were just sort of like, okay. But again, my dad had come from a place where he was just like, I'm his first boy. I have one younger brother. I'm his first boy. I had the burden of having on my shoulders being the man. I had to do all the boy whatever things. I remember when I was a kid and I would draw like comic book characters who were very muscular and whatever. He's just like, why don't you dedicate yourself, instead of drawing it, to being like that? And I'm like, because it's easier to draw it. Because I don't sweat when I'm drawing. Yeah, I got a callus right here, but that's about it. But it wasn't until 2017 I took him with me to New York Comic Con. Actually, I took him with me because I brought him with me because his best friend lives in New York, and he hadn't seen him in a couple of years, so I wanted them to spend time together. And it's the very first time, I think, actually, he had seen me in costume. And I was getting ready to go to the con, and I came dressed out. Actually, I was dressed as Superman. And he looked at me, and I didn't know what to expect or what to anticipate. He's passed since he passed a couple of years ago. and I didn't know what to expect, and then seeing him and seeing his reaction to me was just sort of like, he looked at me for a second, and he's just like, man, you look really, really good. You look really awesome. And that's just a memory that's just in there now, it's just lodged in there, and that acceptance of that was just, it was an experience that I'll always keep with me. So it's interesting going from where we were to obviously later on, because again, it's, you have the experience. I think that's a sort of shared experience about being Latino. There's a lot of machismo. There's a lot of very much like, hey, you have to be, this is what you're expected to be. And in your specific case, it was just like, oh, you can't read comic books because that's a boy thing, not actually for you to have this shared experience. So when you guys were younger, representation is very important for me, and I will say, just to give some props, part of my endeavor in trying to do this kind of stuff was inspired by somebody who's here in the audience, and I always have to give him a shout out because, quite frankly, actually, he is one of the people that brought me into cosplay and really embraced me. That's Jabbar right there, Cosplay Your Way. He's been amazing about representation and making sure people are not only actually living their truth and living actually their experience, but loving and embracing what they do. And anytime I come up on a stage like this, I gotta go ahead and give props because I absolutely love that man.
Thank you.
Representation is really important, and when we were, at least when I was a kid, it was very hard to see. I mean, if you think back to characters that you could say, hey, this character looks like me, or at least has the same background, you can, and especially like a comic book set or whatever, you can probably count with one hand. I remember actually on Super Friends show, El Dorado, that was like one. And it was just like, where are the rest of them? So I do find it great that now actually, that I'm older and I see a lot of cosplayers. Every time I see a Chapulín Colorado, I lose my stuff. I'm just like, that's the best thing ever. I'm like, thank you. I'm waiting for somebody to do a hard reboot, like a dark reboot. I don't know who's gonna put the money into it, but I need a dark reboot Chapulín. Like a grizzled old man, like he's got his hammer and and I want that to happen. But when you see characters actually now, like for example in movies, and I think we've seen a lot of it, what's the, how do you feel about it? How do you feel? Do you feel a little bit more seen? Do you feel like obviously like they cast, Latino Hispanic characters in not necessarily, any a specific case, this is a Hispanic character, but obviously like Moon Knight, you have actually that example. You have Gamora. Granted, she's green, but still, how do you guys feel about that, and what's your thoughts?
For me, I think being both Hispanic and queer, I look for that representation on two different fronts.
Yeah.
And growing up, I didn't see either one represented that often. I mean, before the panel, I was literally listing off the sparse amount of characters from the Teen Titans that are Hispanic because I couldn't remember many of them. So it's really cool to see how far it's come and changed on both of those ends in terms of queer representation and Hispanic representation, and sometimes both. I think we have a long way to go still, but I'm really impressed with the strides that we've made, both in comic books and in TV and movies, like in multiple medias. That's really been a nice thing to see finally happen.
So for me growing up, I never really acknowledged the lack of representation that we have in media, in movies and TV shows. So it never really was important to me. It never occurred that it is important. I grew up pretty whitewashed. So, doing anything embracing your culture, it was something to be made fun of. And even within our own community, they kind of encourage you to be a little bit whitewashed sometimes, depending on where you live, depending on your family. And I grew up not realizing the importance of being a part of my own community and the cultural impact. And I think a big part of that was that lack of representation. That influenced me heavily in not realizing it was important. And it just wasn't until these past few years ago that I realized it is important. I really want to embrace my culture. I really love the representation I'm seeing Blue Beetle, he has his own movie. As a Latino character who is headlining his own movie. Namor is another one in these past few years. And seeing that, and I love that so much, it gives me so much inspiration. Pedro from Shazam. Not a very well-received movie, but still.
Yeah. Well, the first one was.
The first one was.
The first one was. He was in it, so.
Yeah. And it is amazing. That gets me so excited to see it. That's why I love to cosplay these characters so much, because I do feel seen. And the characters look amazing, and I feel seen. And somebody come.
Oh, no. You're good. You're telling the truth, but that's what I want to
I'm
hear.
like, no, keep talking.
Say more. Say more.
No more.
Not more.
Honestly, yes. Namor. No more. What clever wordplay was that?
Yeah.
Let's be real. I felt really seen for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. That movie was so smart. It was so deep, and the fact that you got to see authentically, like, indigenous for a given value of indigenous, being that Atlantis isn't real, Alabama isn't real. You got to see people who are indigenous, who are Mexican actors speaking Yucatec Maya for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You saw actual, portrayals of what colonization looked like when Spain invaded the New World, and how that affects people even today. That movie talked a lot about generational trauma and how that impacts how you relate to people. And
We still have to talk in Castilian. That's the standard of
Hello?
Spanish versus
the Castilian Spanish.
Yeah.
I just started learning Nahuatl, for those of you who might want to learn how to speak like the Aztecs. I started learning that because I'm in a part of my ancestry where I'm hitting colonial Mexican records that are written in the native language, and I want to be able to read that. So that was just important. I loved seeing that. And I also loved Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Not just because Oscar Isaac Hernandez Estrada was playing Moon Knight, and I adore him. But as if I'm not complicated enough, I'm also Jewish. So seeing a Hispanic person playing a Jewish superhero, that was incredible. And I wrote like a whole essay on all of those identities coming together. And we live in such an amazing time to be who we are. In the last 3 to 5 years, we have America Chavez, we have Werewolf by Night, we have Moon Knight, we have Namor, we have
Miles.
Morales. We have so many characters that are authentically Latino, Indigenous, Hispanic. We get to see us in all of our expressions, and we didn't have this when I was growing up. I am over the moon to see how we're getting represented now, and we are living in like a gente renaissance right now. You know what I mean? It's so inspiring, and all these young cosplayers, young actors get to see themselves, and they go, "I can do that too." I get so hype about that, and yeah, somebody shot me up. So I'll tell you.
Well, I kind of have similar, like a mixture of everybody. I'm Black and Mexican, so I didn't really grow up thinking I needed representation, because I didn't really see anybody like me where I was growing up. And then I feel like I was always called the white girl. So anybody, like, I don't know, I would say as a kid, nobody cared. I think I had white Barbies, I had, black Barbies. I think I gravitated more to the black Barbies. I thought they were just really beautiful and exotic. I'm like, oh, their hair, not that I looked like them, it's just, I thought they were gorgeous. I didn't feel like they represented me, but I was like, I want to be that. This person is gorgeous. So I think that's why I gravitated towards Storm. Not because I felt represented by her, but it's like, dude, she's just amazing. Her presence with this. So I just never really thought like representation matters, because to me, I didn't fit in here or there, and then I just saw a character and I liked it. I was drawn to it. Like, I want to be that. But then getting into cosplay, it's cool to have a character that looks like you because you can just morph right into that character. And I do like seeing more Latino characters come up or more Black characters come up. So the kids, when they see it, they get excited because they're like, oh, I can do that, I can do that. So, like I said, to me, it didn't really, representation is just like something like, it doesn't bother me much, but I see that it does mean things to kids because they don't visualize it the way I do it, the way I do. I visualize it like, I'm gonna like somebody, I'm gonna dress as them, I'm gonna like them, they're my favorite character. Like, Shadow Cat's my other favorite character. She's Jewish, so
Same.
you know. And I think I was talking about Spider-Man, and I was like, dude, I really like. I think my friend was saying he couldn't be a character because he's not white, he's Black, and I'm like, so are you trying to say that I can't dress like Spider-Gwen because I'm not white? Like, what are you trying to say? And he was just like, well, no, I didn't. I was like, I was like, you know. So I was like, I'm gonna do what I want to do regardless if I feel represented in the media or not. Like, I'm gonna be the character whether I feel represented or not. I'm gonna make it mine, and if I want to bring my culture into it bit by bit or anything like that, I'm gonna do it. But I did really like, because you guys talk about Wakanda Forever. I thought I hate that when they switch characters' origins, but at the same time, they did it so beautifully. The culture in the movie was done so well, and I was just like, oh my God, this is like, it's so beautiful. Like, it really hit me just because I was like, seeing it on the big screen, seeing it celebrated, I was like, that's really awesome. Like, even though I didn't grow up with it because my dad never instilled that to me, he never taught me Spanish, it's just, it was still just really, I don't know how to explain the feeling to see it. And then like seeing Miles Morales, I'm like, I love how they bring in his culture on both ends. They don't just, like, even though he's Puerto Rican and Black, they don't just show his Puerto Rican side or just show his Black side. They intermesh, and I'm like, dude, I think that's awesome because, again, even though my dad wasn't teaching me my culture, and then my mom is more like, I don't want to say she's like a white Black, but she's, you know, she's not very like super culture and being Black. So it's just like, I love seeing when you can bring in things. I bring in all my culture, like regardless. If I'm Black, I'm Black. Like, you're not gonna tell me I'm not. If I'm Mexican, I'm Mexican. You're not gonna tell me I'm not. Even though they tell me all the time, like, you're not really this, you're not really that.
That's their perception of who they think you are.
Well, I mean,
that's your reality.
To them, I'm not enough. So that's why I was like, representation is just like, and to me, because it doesn't matter because I'm not enough for everybody. So I'm just gonna be who I want to be and do what I want to do. So it's just still, I'm gonna pull my culture where I can and when I want. And if people don't like it, they don't like it. So, yeah. So I guess I'm talking to you.
No, speak your truth. Speak your truth. That's I really do. I do really appreciate actually everyone's point of perspective and point of view because, like I said, that's what makes this experience so great is that you all have so many varied stories and backgrounds and sort of, you know, where those experiences sit, and that doesn't make anybody less valid. In fact, actually, just so where you can know that you're in a safe space, you are valid for all of those things that you're experiencing, every single one. So that's what it comes down to is that you want to feel seen, and I think actually, and all of us, I think actually want to feel seen, want to feel represented. We want to feel like, you know, we're accepted, and that's honestly what keeps me in cosplay. Is making sure that I can have people see, hey, this can be done, and it's okay, and it's normal. It's that we're normalizing it. You know, is this character I'm wearing Black? Absolutely not. Is he Dominican? He has very Dominican traits, but he's not Dominican. Not Dominican though. But here we are, and that's the important thing is that actually you can cosplay whichever you can. Not to trademark somebody else's stuff, but cosplay your way. You can do this and make it your own, and you know, because again, your experience is your experience. What you go through is unique to you. So I did want to get a chance actually for the audience and for folks here, if you guys had any questions for the panelists, if you guys had anything actually that you wanted to contribute. If you wanted to use this as a therapy session and speak your truth, by all means, go ahead and do so. If anybody wants to, anybody, yes?
How do you guys reach a point with your cosplay or using your cosplay to reach back to your roots, to connect to your heritage? Like, what point did you realize that, okay, I like doing cosplay, but I'm also going to do it in a way that connects to my roots? Like, what was that point in
I
time?
can answer this one. Unfortunately, it's not my Latina roots. I did a Dora Milaje storm for, and my friend invited me to the Wakanda Forever premiere, and I never thought I would get emotional over making a cosplay, and just like finding the perfect fabric. I was looking for African prints. I wanted just everything to be perfect. It's one storm. You cannot mess her up. So it's like,
True.
I just had to get it done right. I had to do it perfectly. And then I love the Dora Milaje. And it's like, that's another group of, you cannot mess them up. So I was putting so much pressure on myself to get this so perfect. I was making changes as I was doing it. And then I feel like trying to bring in the cultural elements of Africa, like all the tribes in Africa, it was just, and then also Wakanda, I wrote the Wakandan language on the harness I had for the costume. Finding the mud cloth that was the right print, and it just so happened they were in the forms of X's. I was like, oh my god, this is how do they know? And it was black and white as well. So it felt so good trying to just research more and get everything right with all the little cultural details. And I'm still I love that cosplay so much, and I still really want to redefine it because, not redefine it, just add more to it, add more cultural aspects to it. So I think that was mine. I'm sorry, it's not
No, again, just
no,
speak
it's
your
not
truth.
related, but that was
You're
something
good.
that
You're good.
really.
I do want to point out, you said that it didn't relate to your Latin heritage, but it is, because a lot of our heritage comes from Africa as well.
Yes,
So
no, that's true.
It does.
Valid point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I would say for me, I don't necessarily I'm of the belief of if you are doing something that you're enjoying, no one should be allowed to take your joy from it. So if you want to cosplay whoever you want, I'm not gonna lie. It's been on my to-do list to do a chapulín, a hardcore chapulín. I don't know what it's gonna look like. I haven't figured out exactly the concept itself, but I wanted to do that. I wanted to do a gritty, I don't know if it's an armored version or a war-torn version. I don't know yet, but I wanted to do one. And I wanted to take a Thor Stormbreaker and make it into his hammer, just for, but that's on the to-do list. But by and large, when it comes to cosplay, I'm of the belief of I don't care where the character comes from, I will go ahead and do it. I'm going to be respectful, because I think that's the very first thing is do not try to disrespect the culture of the character, where they come from, because that is important. As long as you're not doing it and you're saying, hey, I am a insert ethnicity here, Superman, that's different than being just hey, I'm Superman.
That's so funny. I also did a Dora Milaje a couple years ago, and you're probably like, "This what are you doing?" I have personal friends that organize a Wakanda themed shoot at DragonCon, and I was like, "Hey, I love these women. These women are so strong, so powerful. They're just gorgeous, top to bottom, everything about them. I love them." And I went, you know what? I want to do this outfit. The craftsmanship, the leather work, the beading. I spent 3.5 months hand beading that tabard, and it weighs 8 pounds. But I was putting all sorts of little details in there. They all have a little tribal insignia that they have that's affixed to the front. There's a color scheme that's specific to every Dorless tribe. And I was showing my progress to the rest of the group, and they're like, "You're hand beating this. What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Because everyone else was doing the smart mark thing and they were gluing theirs down. And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sew it." Yeah, beading takes about 20 times longer than you think. So I remember wearing it, and I was a little nervous walking into the shoot because I'm pretty pale. But because all of the people in the group were actually just friends of mine, I walked in and they were like, "Oh my God, you look great. Did you hand bead this?" Well, oh my God. And it felt like that level of acceptance because I wasn't trying to be someone who I wasn't. I didn't paint my face. We don't do blackface around here. I didn't try to put on any crazy identity markers that weren't me. And we all just did big group shots. And I got a lot of great feedback because I spent months and months and months of my life putting, blood, lots of blood, stabbing myself. It's not a costume until you bled on it. Into that bead work, and it's meditative, and just being able to spread that craft. People were like, "Oh my God, how did you do this? How did you do that? Did you pattern this thing?" And it felt like it was art. I didn't feel like I was trying to pretend to be about it. They just welcomed me with open arms, like, "Hey, come on, if anybody messes with you, tell us." That was really affirming in a way that I didn't expect.
And you didn't try to parody. You didn't try to. You were respectful, and you weren't coming in saying, "Hey, I'm the white door manager." It wasn't anything like that. So that's the most important thing. Anybody else have any questions for this amazing panel? Oh, yes.
Can I just say that if you're gonna do a Chapulín Colorado, it should be like a barrio Chapulín for like a cholo is like to him, but he's justice.
I mean that's
I mean,
there's
down in the pool.
I think there's room for all of it. That's a great thing. Is actually if you can find the thing. Like I said, I myself haven't found the one that I think I want to do, but it would be great to see just different versions of like that and see it like see somebody do.
Follow-up question would just be like, I just heard about the girls like designing their costumes, but for the guys, when it comes down to cosplay, like, can I hear more about your process? Like, what do you guys like to do? Like, is it a thing you tackle on your own? Do you work with people? Like, is there anything that drives your cosplay inspo? Like, yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors, go.
For me, because I cosplay with my partner, we just cosplay what we like. In terms of like the inspiration aspect of it, like we're really big fans of X-Men, we're really big fans of the Titans and stuff like that. My process was that I couldn't really find the costumes online to buy, so we were kind of forced to make whatever we wanted to wear. So it wasn't really like easily accessible to us. So that's why we learned to sew and learned to craft and learned to foam work and all of that stuff. So that's really the process. And then like we are recently moved to the West Coast as of about like 5 years ago. So we've really been lucky to find a community of good friends who live close-ish to have like craft nights and craft sessions online and like have ideas to bounce off of other people, other peers. If I don't know how to do something a specific way, I can always go to somebody I know and like ask them like, "Hey, how would you do this?" and like go from there and adapt. So.
Oh, very similar. And that was a big part of it. When I started cosplaying, one of the motivational factors was the characters I wanted to be. I couldn't find those costumes. And when I did, they were like from Party City, which there's nothing wrong if you did. You show up to conventions that are from Party City, it's fine. But to me, like for me, it wasn't enough. And that pushed me a lot to start sewing. And it really, I really wanted to learn. I consider myself kind of a goal-oriented person, so I wanted to learn how to do it. I didn't want to have it just done for me. I wanted myself to learn how to do it. Every time I make a new cosplay, there's usually something I've never done before. And you know, the person in me is afraid to do it, but yeah, I push myself. I just push myself to learn. I'm just tell myself I'm not afraid to fail. It's okay to fail. Every time you fail, you just learn something new, and that just makes it the next time you do it a little bit better. I do ask for help. I'm not completely like headstrong like that, but I think I always choose to try to tackle it myself first. And if it's just not working out, I have no problem admitting difficulty. Like, you know what, I need help. Can you please make this for me? I'm running out of time. I really don't know what I'm doing. I need some guidance, and things tend to work out. I'm really grateful for the friends that I have. A few of them are online. One of them's right here.
I don't. I buy a lot of stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I will modify it afterwards, but I buy a lot of stuff. So we are at time. I want to thank you all very much for attending this panel. Please feel free to offline go ahead and actually speak to these amazing panelists. Please give them a round of applause. Some of these panelists, this is their first panel. Wow. First panel. I think they knocked it out of the park. Thank you so much. We're going to adjourn. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.